Now, as a videographer, one of the questions I get asked all the time is, what is the best camera to buy? So today we're going to be going through the best and worst Sony camera bodies for you to own in 2025. So let's start off with one of my favorites, which is the Sony A7C. Now, a few years ago when this camera came out, it was such a game changer because it had the sensor of the Sony A7IV, which is almost everybody's favorite camera to shoot on. And so the fact that you had a full frame sensor sitting in such a small crop sensor body was a game changer. And it even opened up a new Sony line, which is the Sony A7C. Now we have the Sony A7C II and the Sony A7CR. Now, a few great things about this camera is that it shoots 4K 30. And like I said, it has such a small form factor that it does really well when you put it on gimbals. And then the other thing is it also has a flip out screen. Now, if you are a vlogger or maybe you make content by yourself and you need to look at yourself, having a flip out screen is so important. So the fact that you have all these great features in such a small body is what made this camera body so great when it came out. But the reason I would put this camera in a C tier alongside maybe the Sony A7 IV as well and the Sony A7S II, just because they're a little bit older and don't really hold up to all the newer things Sony camera bodies do now, even at a cheaper price point. Now I know what you're thinking, then why do you own it? Well, I still love using this camera as a B cam or even as a vlogging camera. This is still a 24 megapixel camera. So I'll use this for my interior shots when it comes to real estate, or even if I'm shooting some sporting events. Because this has a 24 megapixel, it beats my Sony A7S III, which is only a 12 megapixel. So even though this isn't something that I put in a C tier, it's still something I recommend you can use on your everyday shoots, depending on what you're doing and the quality you're putting out. Next, we're gonna be going through the Sony ZV-1 and 6700. Now, these are great cameras when it comes to podcasting, vlogging, doing solo content, or maybe you want to get into cinematography and learning the video business. This is really good for creating maybe local commercials for businesses that you know, and even social media content. The specs on these cameras are phenomenal and they're also budget friendly. Now for me, the reason I wouldn't use these is because I don't think they perform that well in low light. I mean, you can do a good job with them, and especially with a lot of the AI processing now, you can clean a lot of these images up. But for me, because I'm, filming a lot of high quality work, I want to make sure that I'm using the best cameras for that. And so at least for me and the work that I do, the ZV-1 and the 6700, I would probably put into a B tier because they're really, really good quality, really great price point. But again, the 6700 is a crop sensor. So for me, I would rather want to have a full sensor frame to be able to capture all that light when it comes to filming in low light. But like I said, this is a great B tier camera because it's newer. So even when you have updates, they can fix a lot of this stuff. And no matter what, you're going to be getting a really good image out of these two cameras. Next up, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite cameras and the one I'm filming on right now, which is the Sony A7S III and the Sony FX3. Now, if you're somebody who wants to start a videography business, if you're someone who is into cinematography, if you're somebody who really wants to just kind of expand your knowledge when it comes to video, filming, and cinematography, then these two are the best cameras to learn on. So the fact that it shoots 4K 60, 4K 120, and is still a beast and the king of low light is what makes the Sony A7S III the best video camera for videographers and cinematographers. And the Sony A7S III and the FX3 share the same sensor, so these two cameras are really side-by-side S tier level. Now, the reason I choose the Sony A7S III over the FX3 even till today is because of the viewfinder. I still enjoy doing street photography and different styles of photography, so having a viewfinder there to see my photos on sunny days, for me, is something that I always need. So that's why I choose the Sony A7S III over the FX3. But if you're somebody who is just plain videography and you don't even care, then go for it. The FX3 is phenomenal. Next up, we're gonna be talking about the Sony A7C II and the FX30. Now, if you cannot afford the FX3 or the Sony A7S III, then the next best thing is going to be these two cameras. Reason being, they pretty much share the same sensor with the Sony A7S III and the FX3, except they lack a few of the qualities that these S tier level cameras have. And for the Sony FX30, it's a crop sensor. So again, you're not getting that full frame factor like you will with the Sony A7C II. Now, if it were me and I had to choose between these two, I would pick the Sony A7C II over the FX30 because one, FX30 is a crop sensor. I'm always gonna go full frame no matter what. And two, I'm so used to the Sony A7C that the A7C II has the same body, maybe just a bigger grip, and I would actually prefer that. So for me, comfortability and full frame is where I would choose the Sony A7C II over the FX30. So we're gonna go ahead and put these in A tier, because if you cannot afford the A7S III or the FX3, these are gonna be your best option. Next, we'll be talking about the Sony a6100 and the Sony a7 III. Now again, at the time, these two camera bodies were top tier A level, but now the firmware and everything else has just kind of gone down and they're not up to par with a lot of the newer camera bodies. So I've seen some of these on Facebook Market, and for the price that they're going for, I would rather have you invest in some of the other cameras we've spoken about, because they're gonna give you that longevity and growth in your business. And if you've been on this channel before, one of the things I always recommend is that you have a camera that grows with you at least for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, what I'm not saying is if you have these cameras, get rid of them. I mean, they're still good, especially if you're getting good quality out of them and you're kind of already used to shooting and editing with these, then by all means keep them. But if you want to improve and get better at videography, then I would say these cameras probably need a rest. All right, y'all, let me know in the comment section if you agree with the way that I listed these out. If not, let me know where you would rank these for videography cameras. Like I said, right now we're only focusing on the best for videography, and especially as someone who owns the Sony a7S III, this camera has changed the way I even think about video. So if you like this video, let me know in the comment section if you want me to do one with photography only cameras. Now make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want to know more about what I do here in Austin, Texas, and click this video up here. But if you want to know more about cameras and all this other fun stuff, then click that video up there. Until next time, catch you on the flip side. Peace out.